It's the morning of January 24, 2006. You are standing in a condominium in Orlando, Florida. The apartment belongs to Jennifer Kesse, 24 years old, finance manager at Central Florida Investments, recent UCF graduate who just bought her first home. She got back from vacation in Saint Croix 4 days ago. She called her boyfriend Rob Allen the night before. They spoke until around 10 p.m. She was fine. She had plans. She had a morning meeting at work she had never missed. She laid out several outfit choices on her bed before she left. She has not been seen since. Around 8 a.m. her coworkers call her parents. Jennifer has a meeting. It's not like her. Do you know where she is? Her parents, Drew and Joyce Kesse, begin the 2-hour drive from their home to hers. By the time they arrive, Orlando police are already there. Officers look around the apartment, see no signs of disturbance, and make their assessment. She had a fight with her boyfriend probably. She'll be back. They walk out. No evidence collected. No scene processed. No immediate investigation launched. A family friend who later becomes her unofficial investigator would describe that moment with devastating precision. That was Jennifer's last chance. 2 days later, a neighbor reports seeing Jennifer's black 2006 Chevy Malibu parked at a residential complex called Huntington on the Green, approximately 1 mile from her condo. Surveillance footage from the complex captures a figure parking Jennifer's car and walking away. The footage is grainy. The figure's face is obscured by a fence. No distinguishing features are visible. That figure has never been identified. Jennifer Kesse has been missing for nearly 20 years. Jennifer Joyce Kesse was born on May 20, 1981 in New Jersey. The daughter of Drew and Joyce Kesse, a family that would spend the next 2 decades refusing to let their daughter's case become forgotten. She graduated from Vivian Gaither High School in Tampa and earned a finance degree from the University of Central Florida in 2003. By 24, she was a finance manager at Westgate Resorts timeshare company in Ocoee, living in a new condominium she had saved to purchase, and planning a future that by every measure looked bright. She was described by everyone who knew her as disciplined, driven, and deeply organized. The outfit choices laid out on her bed that morning are the detail her family returns to repeatedly, not because they're unusual, but because they're so precisely Jennifer. A woman who planned her mornings. Who had a meeting she never missed. Who called her boyfriend every night. She went to work on the morning of January 24, 2006, and the world has not seen her since. The initial Orlando Police Department response to Jennifer Kesse's disappearance became the defining institutional failure of this case, and the one her family has spent nearly 20 years fighting to expose. When officers arrived at Jennifer's condo on January 24, 2006, they looked around, saw no signs of disturbance, and concluded she had likely had a fight with her boyfriend and left voluntarily. They processed nothing. They collected nothing. They left. That decision, made in the first hours of what would become one of Florida's most significant missing persons cases, had consequences that compounded for years. Evidence that existed at Jennifer's condo in those first hours deteriorated or was lost entirely. The window for immediate investigation of a potential abduction scene closed. When her car was found 2 days later at Huntington on the Green, the OPD's handling of the vehicle became its own separate failure. The family was told there was no evidence of consequence in the car. Years later, after Drew Kesse filed a lawsuit against the city of Orlando and obtained 16,000 pages of OPD case files, the first successful legal request for records involving an ongoing case in Orlando's history, the family discovered that DNA had in fact been collected from the car. DNA the OPD had originally denied existed. The surveillance footage from Huntington on the Green remains the most significant and most frustrating piece of evidence in this case. A figure parks Jennifer's car and walks away. The fence obscures a clear view. The footage is grainy. Poor image quality and a fence obstructing the view meant the person could not be identified despite national media coverage and extensive investigation. That unidentified figure remains the closest thing to a named suspect this case has ever produced. Drew and Joyce Kesse did not accept the investigation's stagnation. What they built in response to institutional failure is one of the most extraordinary examples of family-driven cold case advocacy in American true crime history. Drew Kesse assembled a private investigative team of 13 law enforcement professionals, including former U.S. Secret Service and FBI agents, to work the case independently of OPD. He sued the city of Orlando, the OPD, and the mayor's office to obtain case files. He won, producing 16,000 pages of materials that revealed what investigators had denied. He appeared on national media repeatedly. He wrote publicly. He never stopped. Nearly 20 years after Jennifer laid out her outfit choices on her bed and left for a meeting she never reached, her father is still going fast and furious. The Jennifer Kesse case presents two separate behavioral profiles worth examining in depth: the behavioral signature of whoever took Jennifer, and the behavioral signature of the institutional failure that defined the investigation's first hours. Both matter. Both explain why this case remained unsolved for nearly 2 decades. Begin with the surveillance figure. The unidentified person who parked Jennifer's Chevy Malibu at Huntington on the Green approximately 1 mile from her condo walked away calmly, without running, without apparent urgency. That behavioral detail, the calm departure on foot from a vehicle that didn't belong to them, implies someone who had planned their exit. They knew how they were leaving. They had arranged their own transportation or knew the walk. The 1-mile radius between Jennifer's condo and the car's final location is behaviorally significant, close enough to suggest local knowledge, far enough to create distance from the primary scene. The choice to abandon the car at a residential complex rather than a more isolated location implies either local familiarity with that specific area or a deliberate choice to blend the car into a residential parking environment where it might not be immediately noticed. Both implications point towards someone with connection to the area surrounding Jennifer's condo, the construction workers, maintenance staff, and residents of adjacent complexes that investigators have examined over the years. The timing of the abduction, between 7:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. on a weekday morning, is the most behaviorally specific element of the case. This is not a nighttime opportunistic attack. This is a morning abduction during a window when Jennifer was moving through her routine, leaving her condo, walking to her car in the parking structure. Whoever took her knew that routine or observed it. The morning timing implies either surveillance of Jennifer's schedule or knowledge of when she would be in a specific location. Both implications point toward prior observation rather than random encounter. The initial OPD response is the behavioral failure that haunts this case most persistently. Officers who arrived at Jennifer's condo on January 24, 2006, made a rapid assessment, no signs of a struggle, no immediate evidence of crime, and concluded she had left voluntarily. That assessment reflects a cognitive bias forensic psychologists call premature closure, the tendency to accept the first plausible explanation for an ambiguous situation and stop looking for alternatives. A 24-year-old finance manager with a morning meeting who laid out outfit choices for work and spoke to her boyfriend until 10 p.m. the night before is not the behavioral profile of a person who disappears voluntarily without contact. Every behavioral indicator pointed towards something wrong. The rapid closure prevented those indicators from being examined. The DNA that was collected from Jennifer's car, and then denied to exist, is the most consequential single piece of evidence in this case. Investigators found DNA on evidence that was never tested, which will hopefully lead to more factual information leading to Jennifer. Nearly 20 years of untested DNA represents a timeline in which the answer may have existed physically while the investigation stalled institutionally. The AI analysis now being applied to 16,000 pages of case files is the most technologically significant investigative development in this case's history, and the one most likely to produce the identification that nearly 2 decades of conventional investigation could not. We're not at Jennifer yet, but we're finally going in the right direction. The DNA has never been tested until now.